All right. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's mentor session on security risk assessment. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And this particular framework is very crucial for GRC professionals, right? Because it is not all organizations that will be able to use NIST because NIST is very broad and they cannot really align with, they can't tailor all the 1006 controls to their environment, right? So some of the organizations like the healthcare organization or some financial organizations too, they have to use an abbreviated version of this control. So the most important ones that they use is the security risk assessment. Now, if you remember when we were talking about these frameworks, I said it's like driving. You remember when you did your driving test? Maybe it was under you used to practice and they gave you the driver's license. It doesn't matter how you got your driver's license. You have the license to drive any vehicle. And it doesn't mean that the short distance that you have to travel, right, or drive to pass your driver's test, that's the how far you can go as regards driving. So, which means within 15 minutes or 20 minutes, however long it took you to do the test, whatever you learned at that time is sufficient to take you from anywhere, to drive from here to Canada, from here to Washington, and drive any kind of car. The same thing, security control frameworks. Once you learn one, that's all you need because every other one, they look very similar. Is exactly the same way. The structure is the same. All you just need to know is that which particular environment or industry actually align with this particular security framework. So for this security risk assessment is one that is very tailored towards maybe small to medium organizations. Now, today I'm not just going to be teaching and telling you theory. I'm going to also be giving you the tool that is used for security risk assessment. I will also be giving you all those other documentation that contain, excuse me, some resume aligning statement or job description that align with the security risk assessment that you can add to your current resume, right? I would just encourage you, don't pick it verbatim. You can just tweak it and add it to your resume because a lot of people will be receiving the same documents, and if everybody is using exactly the same word, it can flag it for plagiarism, they call it, right? So, but today, basically, we're going to be demystifying the security risk assessment process, and I will also be driving home this training by giving us a scenario that we can all relate with. Maybe we'll try to do a little bit of demo as well of the tool and we'll also give you assignments at the end of today's training so that you can practice with that tool. And guess what, that is how you gain your hands-on training. So when you put it on your resume that you've conducted security risk assessment before, nobody can doubt you, right? Because we have practiced it in class, and then you can also practice it at home or during your study time. All right. So let's take a quick look at what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to be starting with foundational understanding of what security risk assessment is about. And then we're going to walk through the process step by step to explore what the HHS SRA. HHS means that Health and Human Services, right? So they developed this particular tool. We're going to walk through that particular tool, and then I will run a live demo of this particular, and you can actually download that tool also for free but I've already downloaded it for you anyway. So either you pick the one that I gave you or you're going to be downloading yours, but you have access to the information that you'll be needing as regards this particular one. So let's dive into the realistic scenario. So I set the stage for this training. Now, let's see. Imagine you're a compliance analyst at a consulting firm. Let's say the consulting firm's name is Proven System Solution, which is one of my consulting firm, and we are supporting a healthcare provider, and which is real anyways because we have some clients that we support on that end. So now we are supporting a healthcare provider, and you are the provider. You want to conduct what we call security assessment for the client, or maybe the client comes to you that they want you to give them the proof that their system align with the security and compliance. So they need a proof, because most of the time all these organizations, they get audited, right? And the auditor will come and say, you are running this healthcare system, give us a proof that all your system, they follow the security guidelines. Now they cannot start doing the what NIST actually said, like this: you categorize, you select, you implement. They can't do that because probably they are small to medium, right? But the expedited way of getting what NIST or other frameworks will give to them is by running security risk assessment. Although this tool is developed by the HHS, which is Health and Human Services, but it is not restricted to healthcare industry alone. I can use it in my own company because I'm not a large scale, you know, organization, right? So any organization can use it. You can actually open a consulting firm and run a security risk assessment for your clients, and then you charge them for something for that, right? So what I call cybersecurity as a business, right? But we're going to talk about that another day, right? So how do you respond to that request that says that they need to get a proof that their system aligns with what is expected of them? So that's what we want to talk about now. How do you perform security risk assessment for your clients? Now, SRA is a process of identifying threats and vulnerabilities, evaluating the likelihood and the impact, and also documenting how you plan to mitigate those risks. That's a security risk assessment that we're going to be doing. So you think of it as a health checkup for systems, especially under regulatory lenses like HIPAA, NIST, PCI DSS, right? They all align with SRA. So conducting health checkup, right? So that's what we want to do. Now let's talk about why. That is, why are we conducting security assessment? Now, one of the reasons, I think I want to first, SRA acts as hammer against potential compliance failure and costly breaches. You think of it as maybe an organization, if they have not conducted security risk assessment, they have not identified the threat in their environment, they have not identified the vulnerabilities that is prevalent in their environment. How would they be able to do that? Give me 1 second, please. Apology for that. That's one of the benefits of working from home, right? All right.
Yeah.
So now the organization, they need to know, because if they do not know and there is a breach in their environment, they are going to be exposed. Think of a healthcare. Remember, I think, was it 2014 that we had WannaCry, that's ransomware that hit United Kingdom, right? That the entire NHS was locked down. Why? Because they were using antiquated system. were using, I think it was Windows 7 they were using at that time, and Microsoft already considered that as end of life. So they could not identify that. And you know what that means? It cost them a lot. So, security risk assessment, if it was conducted, if they had hired somebody like you, right, to conduct the security risk assessment in their environment, they will have identified all these issues, these vulnerabilities, or if they feel like they are not ready to fix the problem, we will have created what we call the contingency plan for them or something. Because they did not do that, guess what? They lost integrity, they lost data, they were fined, it was heavy on them. So that's one of the prices that the organizations are going to pay for not hiring GRC analysts in their environment. So think about what we are doing as a very serious. So SRA gives organizations visibility into their risk landscape. It helps them make informed decisions and help them to also demonstrate what we call the due diligence to regulators. All right. So, how do we do it right? That's the most important thing. So, let's look at the general process of security risk assessment. It follows about 6 steps, right? The first one is that we are going to define the scope. Defining the scope means that what system or environment are we assessing? We're also going to identify assets. There's no organization that doesn't have assets. Do you know that assets includes the employees of the organization? It includes the cell phones that is given to the employee. It includes the phone or the pager system, any information system that is assigned to all the employee. They are part of the assets. So we need to identify those assets and to understand what data or system that is at risk. Okay, we're going to identify threats and vulnerability. That's another process. That is, what could go wrong, right, within this environment that we have. Then we assess the risk. We conduct assessment, or what we call risk assessment. That is, we want to identify the likelihood and the potential impact peradventure if a particular issue is identified. We're going to determine mitigation as well, right? What can you do to reduce this risk? Once we assess the risk, what can we do to reduce the risk? And then the final process, which is very, very important, is that we're going to document and report. So, because if it's not documented, it never happened. You understand? If it's not documented, guess what? It did not happen. So everything that we did, from identifying this, defining the scope, identifying asset, threats and vulnerability, risk assessment, mitigation, and also all of those things, we package them together in a report. And that's the bill of compliance that the organizations are going to receive in the end of the day. So anytime they come around, or even if there is a breach at all, the first thing the government is going to ask for is that show us your security risk assessment report. Once they are able to show them that, guess what? Half of their problem is gone, right? So it's very important. So let me help us, walk through what we are actually talking about here. So the HHS Security Risk Assessment tool is designed, like I said before, for small to mid-sized healthcare providers, and it's not limited to healthcare organization alone. It works through a structured SRA using guided questions and automatically generates a report. We have about 125 questions that this security risk assessment is going to ask the organization, right? So it's going to help them to understand what we are dealing with. So let me show you what it looks like when you open that tool. It's a tool, right? But I'm going to show you the tool. But when you go to their website, this is what the website looks like. Okay, this website, you'll be able to download that SRA toolkit. So once you click and download that, you're going to run it on your system, and then you do, if you are the compliance analyst working with the organization, you're going to sit down with them and ask them questions. You walk them through all those questions, and then their responses, you're going to document that, and also the comments, right? It might take you weeks in run through those questions, but it's something that you need to do for them. I remember one time when I was very good, is that I have a colleague of mine that we worked on that project also on this call, right? I work for a particular organization, and on that particular project, I think the name of the uh, my client, then I think I can disclose that since I already resigned from that project, is Kansas City, right? They had both about 400 and about over 400 servers in their data centers, and also they have about 6 cloud-based infrastructure that I was managing with them. So those 6 AWS infrastructure that I was managing for them, they belong to different health organizations across the country. And every year I have to conduct security risk assessment on these 6 domains. Guess what? It's now fun, because going through about 125 questions and gathering artifacts on many of those questions, it takes time. And you can now imagine I have to do that for 6 different accounts, right? Every year. And that is a requirement, because I have to also still report to the CISO office what the looks like, right? So we want to walk through this just to buttress the importance of this SRA to us. So now, once you click on on the website, you'll be able to walk through some of these tabs we have there. But now, the administrative safeguard, they are part of the policies and procedure that is designed to manage every section and development there. And then you go and let live demo. Let me switch the screen right now, because I have so many screens in front of me. And let me see if I can turn off and turn on what I am doing. Give me 1 second. I'm not leaving, I am staying. That's what it says. Asking me if I, okay, you drag it to this particular screen. All right. Can you all see this? Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Trying to see if I can. Let me log out. I will log out and log back in. So that's what the tool will look like when we download it. Like I said,
Do you download it from HHS website, or from that
you download the tool from
the tool?
HHS website. Okay.
Okay.
I'll give you all this information also.
Okay.
All right. So when you download that, it's going to look like this. Although I tried to develop a kind of fictitious system, but I couldn't get through with it. But we continue from there. You are going to do that, at the end of the day. So this is the tool. When you download it, you click that, and then you walk through it. It's very easy for you to walk through. So I have this one, I call it demo. That is the company that I believe I'm working on. Now, if you have about 6 accounts, you're going to create different, each of those accounts in one tool, right? So now we are here. For some reason, it came to the other screen. Okay. So this is the tool, the first page that you see, welcome you there, and then you click next. You're going to populate the companies, that is your client's information right there. And then you go ahead, you remember that we said we're going to identify assets, right? What are the assets they have? They probably have a list of those assets. They can give it to you, and there are so many options of you uploading those assets here. You see that you had the assets manually, right? Or you download the template right from here. And once you download the template, you can ask them to populate the template with their information. Or if they already have it in CSV format, you can just upload the asset. Whichever way you're trying to do that, you can just make sure that all the assets in their environment, they are all populated and then uploaded in this tool. So once you go there, then the next thing is the vendor information and also any other document that they may have, whether they have SSP, they have contingency plan policies, they have security training policy, or what other policy can you ask for? Even the continuous monitoring or any all those documents, just make sure everyone that they give you, you upload them right here. Then you proceed to talk about the assessment session. We have about 7 sessions, right? And each session contains different numbers of questions. Now, together between section 1 and section 7, we have about 125 questions, right? But let's pretend as if we are conducting security assessment, but I guarantee you, I'm not going to sit here to answer all 125 questions, right? But let's look at what it looks like, right? So now the question you're going to ask them is, has your practice completed a security risk assessment before? Is either yes or no, or they are not sure. All their responses, you capture it, right? And if they have any reason to buttress any of their responses, you have to document it here. If they answered no, for example, maybe because we didn't know, maybe because we just started the practice few days ago, right? You capture any of their comments here and you walk through each question. I'm trying to see if I can pull up there's an Excel spreadsheet of all those 125 questions as well. I will also be sending that one over to everyone so that you can have those questions as another thing we can do, right, is that you can download those, you can send the CSV file of those questions, send it to them to complete, and once they complete it, you can then come here and populate it, right? Where they have answered yes in is exact same question that you have here that they have on the Excel spreadsheet. You can send it to them to complete. Once they complete it, they send it to you. At least it saves you time, right? That's what I was doing that time. I didn't know when I started on that project. I was looking for a good time to get the manager and pull all of them into meeting to run these questions. Sometimes it might take me about 3 different sections that spread across about 3 or 4 weeks sometimes to be able to even get all of them to answer all these questions, because the question is not just restricted to what the admin can answer. It cut across what the other department also within their organization will have to answer. So you have to ensure that you identify all the stakeholders to provide responses to every session that is pertaining to them. So that's why having the Excel spreadsheet is good. So once you have the Excel spreadsheet, send it to them and they can toss it around within themselves, and everyone will complete their session. And once it's completed, they can send it back to you. And once they send it back to you, just use that to populate this particular thing. Because at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to get this particular tool as a way of calculating the risk score, right? And you're going to be practicing that by yourself today, right? I will give you all the necessary information. I have the about assets that I'll be giving to you, right? Uh, just it on the template on the tool and start practicing with it. So all the necessary information that you need to develop that, I will send it to you. Practice with it, and once you practice that, guess what? Had it on your resume that you've completed security risk assessment, right? During your interview, is going to add value to your resume. All right. So each section will contain different questions. Like we said, I'm not going to go through all those questions. At the end of the day, we're going to get to the report session, right? After the assessment, when all those 125 questions are all completed, then the security risk assessment summary is going to summarize it automatically what the result looks like. It's going to calculate their risk, the areas of review, and also the vulnerabilities in their environment. All right. So once that is calculated, if you are able, right, maybe by the time you complete your own assignment, now I'm speaking not just only to the current students, I'm also speaking to the past students that's on this platform, right? If you are able to send a screenshot of your security risk assessment summary, that's fine. Just let me see what it looks like. It's not important for you to submit it. I just want to see what you've done, and you don't have to do. If you are not able to, that's okay. So, where are the things that where are the risk area that need to be addressed? Then, once you are able to complete all those questions, then you'll be able to generate the risk report, and also you'll be able to get the detailed report, right? And also the flag report and remediation. The remediation process also will be identified at that point. But this one is grayed out for us because we actually did not populate any question, right? So at the end of the day, once that is done, then you're going to save your and then that's it for that particular year. Maybe another year you can pick it up from that. So at that point, when you're going to, because this has to be done every year, or it could be every 6 months. I don't know. There are so many events that can trigger security assessment to be conducted earlier than every year. If, for example, the organization, after they completed their security risk assessment, they now merge, right, with another organization that's probably similar to that. So create a different system. So the system we are now looking at right now is not going to be the same as the one that we assessed. So if that event happen, then that would trigger security assessment to be run again before the time, right? So, but it's essential for all organizations to prioritize the security risk assessment in their environment, and that's why no organization can do without GRC analyst or compliance analyst or information security risk analyst in their environment, because they're going to be paying dearly for not having somebody like you on their team, right? Now, I'm saying this to say that picking up the security risk assessment or GRC skill set is a requirement for a job security. If you have access to ChatGPT, you can also confirm what I'm about to say. One day I hacked ChatGPT. I said, ChatGPT, tell me the job that AI will take away. I didn't even give ChatGPT an idea of I'm into vulnerability management, right? And of course, among other things, it mentioned cybersecurity, especially the compliance, right? So And when I asked, will you be taking away RC job opportunities? I know that one thing about AI is that anything that require human judgment, it cannot completely replace. That's it. But things that are automated can be easily replaced. Take for example, AI cannot answer all these questions that we ask. Somebody has to ask this question from the people, right? But what AI will do is that it's going to help you to do your job better. So, in case if you have anybody that's still considering transitioning into cybersecurity, give them my number. Everybody on this call, they have my number, right? So give them my number and then I'll be able to give them the information that they need. So I believe I have everyone's email, right? And I'm going to be sending you the link to the Google form that contain this SRA2 and also the 125 Excel spreadsheet, and also the I believe I have the information about the yes that you can add to your resume to make it look SRA aligned that you've completed this particular process. And then I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. If you actually did this, share with me your result. And if you have any question, you know the number to call. You're not going to call 911 yet. You're going to call my number before you call 911. Let me see if I have any question on the platform. Okay, as SRE2 is not available on Mac computers. Well, I will send you that. Okay, what? Let's go to the SRA website. To their
Yeah.
website.
Yeah, because I was checking on ChatGPT and also on the website, and it was saying that well, there's like an iPad app, but they unless you want to do like virtualization on a Mac. But yeah,
Really do not know about the Mac, but let me see if
it says maybe also use a cloud-based VM or VirtualBox maybe.
so that if you're going to be using Mac, it says you're going to be using that. Is that what?
Yes, yeah, either you like a cloud-based VM or
Okay,
you on your maybe like virtualizing on your Mac system.
bro, just save yourself time. Go and get Windows, please. It's cheaper than Mac, bro. Right? So I'm actually trying to. You can actually Google from your end too.
Yeah,
SRHHS, right?
yes, as I did. I also check it's they have an iPad app, so I'm gonna check that as well. But I have a Windows computer somewhere. I'll just have to get it back up.
That work. That's the best idea I will tell you that I can give you, really and truly. Right. So this is their website, right? You can actually download that image too. I can't remember how to work this website really, but I have the image, the most recent one anyway, right? I don't know, but just go ahead and walk through the, or you can use the image that I will be sharing with you. The reason why I'm pointing you to the website is because sometimes they can actually update that, so you can go there and just download it, right, and then work with it. So does
You can
anybody
you
have any
can
question?
yeah. Can you put in the search bar, see if it's gonna come up there,
Okay,
the search bar.
S2, let's see. It says I lied. Well, I'm not
Okay.
going to worry about this really and truly because you already have the most recent information about that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, anybody have any question? Because I really don't want to keep us for so long on a Saturday morning and bore you with some information that you really don't need just to keep your interest here, right? But the most important thing is achieved is that how to conduct security risk assessment, and then you're going to be getting the information about uh, that you're going to be needing to practice, right? Let me see if I still have other things on my PowerPoint slide there that I have not talked about. Right? Because one thing is that I just love having my slide deck, working with slide deck so that hey, we want to talk about some common mistakes, right? That some of these organizations they're going to be having, or some of those things that you're going to be facing, is that number one, missing documentation. Some people they provide responses to those questions without giving you proof, right? Let's say, for example, have you conducted contingency plan, or have you conducted vulnerability management, right? If you have actually conducted vulnerability management, there should be a report, right? Sometimes they say, well, don't have it. So, that, in fact, vulnerability management is one of those that I don't believe nobody will have anyway. But maybe you ask them, do you have a security awareness training policies, right? And they said, yes, we do have. Let me see that, right? Let me see that. They have to provide you everything that they said they have as documentation. Ask for it, right? If they are not providing that, you might need to document in that detail section that, yeah, they are, yes, but there was no document provided. So the proof. So the second thing is that most of the time the organization they underestimate risk. Okay. They just, the risk is performance that is going to say is either low, moderate, or high, right? Whether it is low, whether it's moderate, whether it's high, it needs to be fixed. But the goal is that the response, or the what you prioritize most are the critical and high, right? But it doesn't mean that the medium and low they are not going to be fixed. So sometimes people underestimate even the moderate and the low risk sometimes, and then they get beaten for it. You understand? Um, I was very busy a few weeks ago. I think it was a few weeks ago when uh, there was a 0-day vulnerability that was going to impact one of the environment that I was working on at that particular time, Kubernetes. So they released a particular 0-day. I just got to work on Monday morning, and then they pulled me into a meeting and asked me to be explaining. I said, explaining what? Right? Now, in the environment, that particular CV happens to be very, very low, but it could be exploited. Now, speaking from the vulnerability management perspective, right? Let me put it on heart a minute. Now, it's categorized as critical, high, moderate, or low, or sometimes negligible. The fact that something is critical does not mean that it is exploitable. And when it has to do with risk, we prioritize more the exploitability of vulnerability rather than the severity of the vulnerability. The severity we say is critical, but the exploitability might be negligible. And there are some situations that the severity will be low or even negligible, but the exploitability is high. So when we're conducting vulnerability, we are not just only focusing on its critical or high. We're going to look at the exploitability. Is this thing exploitable? Can the malicious guy go behind back door to actually hit us, despite the fact that it's negligible or low or moderate? Because we drive the conversation that you fix your critical and you fix your eye occasionally, right? But many people they downgrade the severity without knowing that, without checking on the exploitability. So some other mistakes, like I said, is that people underestimate risk, right? Then also people rely on tools. Despite the fact that SR2 helps, but they still need to use their common sense, right? The fact that you believe that you walk through the SRA and everything looks good does not mean that you should just rely 100% on what the tool told you. Now, I give example of the critical high, right? That's what the tool categorized based on the public information and the library that has been developed, right? The CVE, the NVD, and things, they already categorize that CVE to be, let's say, critical or high, and then you feel like everything is cool. But checking the exploitability. So that's why you cannot rely on tool completely. Sometimes the advisory also, they release the advisory, of those vulnerability as well. It's not just about what the tool is telling them, it's about what the advisory body is actually making available, right? And that's what we say, okay, it might not be important, but you might need to consider, or upgrading, make sure that you are up to date with regards to your patches. Then also, organization, they ignore follow up. So when you conduct security risk assessment, it's not just one time. We are good once, we are good forever. No, it's something that you have to do continually. Now, talking about doing it continually, demand on the organization to also stage a GRC analyst on site to help them monitor the risk. Okay, let's talk about it. For those of us that have actually caught up with the NIST, right? You remember we have the ISSO, Information System Security Officer, and then we have the Security Control Assessor. If you're going to look at it from this perspective, security risk assessor will be the one to conduct this security risk assessment for the organization, right? And once they are done, oh God, this thing has started again. Don't worry. All right. In case if my face zoom, is because blame it on this camera because it zooms my face in occasionally. Right. So the fact that security control assessor will conduct the security risk assessment and give the report back to the organization and say, now I've given you, I've said before you, life and death. Choose ye this day if you want to consider picking, doing the right one. Just choose this one. This is my recommendation, and these are the things that you need to fix. Give it to them and walk away. Now, it's the responsibility of the organization to hire someone that have the same level of experience like the security risk assessor that conducted the assessment, that will help them follow up on the corrective action plan for all the identified risk. Now, what that means is that all those risks that they need to fix and the recommendation that is provided, somebody has to monitor that within your organization, you are actually fixing it, right? So, and to stay on top of everyone that concern that, hey, you need to fix this thing and give me the report that you have fixed it. And if you remember, that's what we call POAM, Plan of Action and Milestone. So that's to track the corrective action plan, that everything that that was identified by the assessor, has it been fixed? You have to prioritize that. So most of the time, the organization, they ignore remediating some of those vulnerabilities. This example over and over again because it made itself to the YouTube actually. I mean, bad. When I was working with one of these federal government agencies, right, we conducted like the internal security control assessor. We have responsibility all through the year to conduct over 72 security assessments for that organization that is overseen by DHS, right? So one of these systems, when we conducted the security risk assessment over, I think we selected about 40 controls that we were going to assess that particular year. They managed to pass 5 out of 40. Think about that. You score 5 over 40. That's what it means. So now, DHS usually send the external security risk assessor to come and do an oversight on all of the organization. Specifically, let me even give out the name. I'm not going to give out the name of the organization, right? So when they came, they just pick randomly out of this 72 system that why is this particular system having a low security rating? They picked on them and they found that they haven't actually addressed most of the risk that we communicated to them, because we identified the risk. We were not going to fix the problem, but if you need advice about how to go about that, we can give it to you, but we're not going to be the one to get our hands dirty. And of course, we were summoned as the internal security risk assessor. We were summoned to say, give us the evidence that you conducted this assessment. And that's why every GRC analyst, you need to be versed in that. So for every question you're asking them and they're saying yes, yes, you tell them to provide an artifact, an evidence. So by assessor, they call them the first three letters, right? Because we're going to ask questions, because we are not just asking questions for you to be compliant, we are also covering our own job too, right? So when we were summoned, we gave them all the evidence that we gathered concerning every control and the recommendation we provided. Now, the head of that organization, because of one system out of 72 systems, was summoned to go to Congress in Washington. And she went there. She did not return happy because she was drilled, right? At the end of the day, somebody was right, somebody did not do the job right. They didn't have an ISSO who was on top of ensuring that they fix all those identified vulnerabilities for them to actually stay compliant. They just say, okay, we've got and so be it. Let's see you next year. No, there was no next year for them. Actually, that system was unplugged. What I mean by unplugged was decommissioned instantly, because they consider that that is an high risk system within a federal government agencies. So they have to disconnect it and ensure that any critical asset within that had to be migrated and merged to another system. So I gave that so as to tell you, to give you an overview of the seriousness of the job that you are or that are being trained for. So the experience of GRC helps you conduct their assessment. It also helps you to maintain the assessment. Whether you are hired as an assessor or you are hired as an ISSO, your job still continues, right? Very, very important. Let me see other things that we had. Yes, we've done the practice anyway. So we're going to practice that on leisure time. Just find a good time when I release the practice it and keep it high to your resume that you've conducted security risk assessment and upskill, capability to be relevant in the field of security compliance. And then God will help each and every one of us break through. And remember, if you have any question, there is number to call before you call 911, right? So today we talked about SRA. We talked just following the don't worry about that. We talked about SRA, the process flow. I walk you through the tool, and I also gave you the real world application of that thing. So if you get to that interview and they say, have you conducted security risk assessment before? You know what to tell them. And when you put it on your resume, you did not lie on your resume. Okay? So very, very important. So I see some question coming in. How will you add that to the resume? Could you give an example? Yes, I have different bullet that you can add to your resume, right? And I will also be sharing that with you. Let me see if I can catch up with that here now, or I'll just send it to you directly. Oh, okay. I have one. I have it here in my download. Okay. So, roles and responsibility that align with security risk assessment, right? Let me increase the font so that you can see it better. So, GRC analyst, conducted security risk assessment across 15 systems, aligning with NIST, EPA, and PCI DSS framework. Did you do that? Yes, we did that. Okay. Then identify and documented over 200 systems, assets, threats, and vulnerabilities. So this is what I will be sending to you, right? Then another cool thing, I actually use ChatGPT, this thing, and then I verify the authenticity of every one of those information to be true, right? The last section talks about the that you can add to your resume, right? To say, I mean, to spice it up. Let me use the word spice it up. Yeah, to sub your resume. You can say an experience, because you just gain an experience. Now, it doesn't take 4 years before you gain an experience. You can gain an experience within 1 hour, right? An experience in performing security risk assessment that align with NIST, RMF, RIPA, and PCI DSS, leveraging tools such as HHS SR2 and GRC platform, proven ability to identify, document, and mitigate organizational. So things like that. You'll be getting this also in the email. Now, if you feel like you want to also, let me drop this before I go. Now, if you feel like you've done the training before and within the last 6 months, you completed the training with my Proven Academy within the last 6 months, let me know. I can migrate you at a very, very price cost, right, to you, to the new platform. Now, what we do now is that we have developed an LMS platform, learning management system. So, which means that you log into that platform, you learn at your own pace, and then on that platform, I do what I call uh, mentors with everyone on the platform. The current students are here as well. So if you feel like you need a refresher course, right, let me know, and then I will talk to you about that. Even if you feel like just need a refresher course, talk to me, and then you're going to be migrating. If you have done the training with my Proven Academy, you are going to be migrated on the platform for free, but you only need to pay the new platform fee, right? Right now, we had the platform before. This weekend, we are migrating to a new platform, right? So just to be able to meet the needs of our students, and that is very, very important for us. So feel free for a refresher course, reach out to me, and then I will definitely hook you up. Somebody asked for my number. Okay, I am doing that right now. You can pick it up from there. All right. So, any other question? Do we have any other question? How can we find the 120 risk questionnaire on the website? You are not going to find 125 questions on the website. You are only going to be, I have the here. Maybe I should share that with you if I have that. Okay, yeah. The questions that I will be sending to you, right? I'll be sending this Excel spreadsheet to you. You see section 1, section 2, section 3, up to 7 section, and then the glossary, the risk, whatever it is, right? So I'll be sending this to everyone that attends this webinar, all right? I will be sending you I'm not going to send the PowerPoint, but I will send you the aligned, uh, what do we call that thing now? SRA resume align roles and responsibility with you, and then I will send you the of that SRA tool to you as well. So what I need you to do is to download it. Once you download it on your system, just click on that, and then is to walk you through that. Okay. So, any other question? Oh, okay. We have 3 minutes. I can do 2 minutes. Okay, bro.
Okay, sorry, I joined a little bit late. So I want to ask the 125 questions, were they like enhancements from selected control families that made up the 125 based on the categorization?
No, none of that. Okay, so I was talking about the SRA2, right? So in the SRA2, right, this tool you're going to be downloading is just like an app. Download it on your phone and then you walk through that. So in the assessment session of the tool, we have 7 sessions, and each session has different number of questions. When you add all those questions together, it's going to give you 125 questions, and it cut across every aspect of cybersecurity, contingency plan, vulnerability management, awareness training, policies and procedures. It cut across all of those things. 125 questions, and it's a combination of what EPAS is asking for, as well as what NIST is asking for, as well as what PCI DSS is asking for. Now, not all the 125 questions will be tailored to every organization, to all your but the one that they know that is applicable to them, they have to document it and then take it off from there. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. We'll look at
Okay.
that. Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
I know if you join this Zoom, you join by registering, and I have your email, right? So I'll be sending the email to you and other information as well. One more question,
I have
right?
a
Another
question.
question? Any question? All right. So it's past the hour. Thank you so very much, everyone, for joining. If you have any other question, feel free to reach out to me directly, and then enjoy the rest of your day.